where do we start? Let's see. Grab your gallon container, and it shows you want to look for number 2 HDPE right there. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different video than before. I like the number 2 plastic better than the Gatorade Pete. I like the HDPE better as far as melting is concerned. Okay, so first you've got a label, and I'm going to heat it up with this hairdryer to get it off. Let's see if that works. On high heat. This is just a regular hairdryer, it's not a heat gun. They say it's supposed to peel off easier if you heat it up, and it sure does. Wow. Otherwise, you have to peel little pieces off a little bit at a time. Didn't heat the bottom up very good. Boom. Ta-da! Okay, and that is still sticky. So I'm going to do that with a couple more. See, this is what happens when you don't heat it up. Not good. Wow, that's just much better. I don't know if you can see that. That is the way to do it, boy. Even the leftover pieces come off easier after you heat it up. Okay. Great. I'm putting all the labels. Okay, that's 2. Just enough to heat up the sticker and the plastic a little. Look at that. Peels right off. Maybe a little residue left. I'm going to leave that on there. Okay. Done with that. Now I'm going to, the plan here is to put all these bottles into this blender. So in order to fit them in this blender, I'm going to have to cut them up to be small enough to fit into that blender. I'm just going to slice it in half. 2 pieces. And I don't want to have to shove my hand down into that blender to get this plastic into the blender, so I'm going to cut it into fourths. So it looks like a half. You have to force it. I got some heavy duty scissors here from Harbor Freight for like $1. I know they're plastic, but they haven't, it's just cutting plastic. It's not like we're chopping wood, right? Okay, so it looks like those would fit. They'll fit better. Uh-oh. See that? Okay, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to put it on. This is an old blender I got from Goodwill for... Usually I leave the stickers on them, but I don't see a sticker on this one. This is a Hamilton Beach, probably from 1970s, it looks like. Maybe. I don't know. And but it's like $9. So if it breaks, so what? And this is actually, it has a glass container. Alright, I'm going to go full blast. I better not go full blast because then plastic might go everywhere, huh? Okay, so I'm going to go maybe halfway, medium. That already sounds like it's about to fall apart, doesn't it? Maybe because it's nice and used. Okay, here it goes. Alright, so I got more plastic all over the kitchen than I did little shards, little pieces of plastic into the kitchen than I did in the jar. We've got maybe a half cup. And it didn't cut it up too good, so chop it up too good anyway. I had that on beat and liquefy. And the other, the high settings would be puree and chop, I think. No, puree and chop are the low speeds, and beat and liquefy are the higher speeds. I'm going to cut this up into even smaller pieces. I want to be able to put the lid on so I don't have to pick up plastic the rest of my life in the kitchen. So we're trying to get these pieces as small as possible so they melt as quickly and uniformly as possible, right? So we don't have some pieces that are, where that came from, some pieces of plastic that when we put them in the oven are not melted and other pieces are burned. Cutting it up in quarters. Careful, never cut towards your hand. You want to keep your fingers. These are water bottles, distilled water, and there's still water in them. A little bit left over. Okay, the oven has reached its preheated stage of 450, I believe I set it on. Here's all the plastic. I'm going to put it in the oven on a 16-inch tiles. Okay, so here's the temp. And here's what's happening to the plastic. There's the chopped pieces. They melted almost immediately upon putting them on this tile. See the big tile I put in there? Just leftover tile from a remodel. Here's the big quarters. They're melting pretty good too. Usually I put... Dogs love this. Okay, so usually I put parchment paper on the tile so that the plastic doesn't stick to it. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes, and 450 seems to be a little warm for this plastic. It's starting to smoke. See it? I'm going to turn that oven maybe down to, what's the melting temp of HDPE? 425. I'm going to cool this off a little. I think that's done. Okay, this is the, I don't know if you can even see it. It's pretty clear on there. The plastic. Just pull it out. I have an oven, 450 degrees for about 7 minutes. Here's the consistency of it. It's like, I don't want to mess these up. I don't want to mess up my scissors, so I got a screwdriver here. Okay. This big piece. Okay, so here's the plastic that I chopped up in the blender. Okay. Melted pretty consistently. It's like a, feels like, what would you say that's like? It's like melted plastic. And I think you could shape this very well at this temp. 450 is probably a little warm for heating this stuff up. I recommend just right above the actual melting temp, which is you have to Google it, 320 or so for HDPE. But it melted very well. So if you had a form, like made out of some 2x4s or plywood, you could throw this into the form make a cube or some sort of square shape, and then be able to machine it with just a big chunk of plastic. Okay, so this is like some melted cheese, and it's starting to cool off already. You see that? It's like mozzarella, I'd say. So I'm going to probably cut up about, how many do you think would fit on this 16 by 16 inch plate without oozing over the edges? Probably this was 3 jugs worth. It's not even an inch thick on there, so I'm going to probably put about 10 more jugs on there, cut into quarters and layered, and I'll be back. Okay, so while I was cutting up, I'm about to cut up more bottles. I took all the lids off and been saving lids for like a week and taking all the lids off of anything I'm recycling. Water bottles, Gatorade, I don't know if I have Gatorade bottles, apple juice, sparkling water, Ozarka lids. I don't see where it says what type of plastic this is. So even the water bottles don't have what kind of plastic the lids are, so I don't know if this is HDPE, peat, or PVC, or what, so you can't trust that. If it doesn't say what kind of plastic, I wouldn't assume that the lids are the same type of plastic that the container is, even though that would make sense. But if it doesn't say, it doesn't say, and I don't know how to tell if it doesn't actually have the type of plastic printed on the plastic itself. Alright, I'm going to melt these. This is like it's like a bread container or something. It was sitting out in the garage. Melt them and see what they look like when they're melted. I'm going to 350 until they look melted. I'll time it and let you know. Okay, first thing we're doing is getting rid of the stickers. Peels right off. Otherwise it wouldn't peel right off. Be careful, because even this regular hairdryer can get the plastic pretty hot to where it hurts when you touch it. 3 down. Worked. Careful, the thinner the label, the more delicate it is, of course. That's 5. One. You can heat up 2 at once, maybe, if you can peel them quick enough. Instead of having to do one at a time. Seems like it'd be quicker if you had 2 people, one heating and one peeling. You know what? I just remembered I have those lids right in the oven. And it's been like 10 minutes. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to try to cut these in half. See if they stack better. Along with the handle and the opposite of the handle. Doesn't look like it stacks it much better that way anyway. I think it stacks better if you cut it along the sides where the handle isn't. See that? I've got plenty of them to practice with, so grab the handle. Cut along the side. Be careful not to cut yourself on the plastic itself. Well, the pieces that don't have the handle on them stack really well. But the pieces with the handle, that handle gets in the way. I mean, once it starts melting, it shouldn't matter, but to get to that point, you know. And once you get past these ridges, you just slide the scissors. You don't have to pump them. You just slide it like you would a piece of cloth or something. So I'm going to put the sides without the handle together. Stack those, try anyway, and then put the sides with the handles together. Slide it, chop it, slide it, cut it. Pretty good. Slide, cut, slide, cut. So you should only have to cut like 2 times. And then slide the scissors the rest of the way. Cut the top, slide, cut the bottom, a couple of ridges. I don't know if these scissors are getting dull or what. And then slide. Done. Done. 2 more. This will all be fast motion, so slide, cut, slide, cut. Handle, opposite side, slide, alright. 10. Got about 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 halves of a bottle right there in that one pack. I'm going to go throw these in the oven right now the way they are, because they are so compact. Alright, so there it is. It's a big mass of clear plastic. Let's see the texture, consistency of it. Okay, here it is. It's like cheese. It's like thick mozzarella. I would use a spatula on this. I think the spatula is outside that I use for stuff. I'm just using a screwdriver. Very hot. Everything's hot. In the 400-degree area, everything's boiling. A little smoky. So yeah, best way to manipulate this stuff is to use like a mold made out of some 2x4s and plywood. It's a square. You melt it, melt the plastic, put it in the mold, and put a lid on it, compress it down into a square. This is just a mess. What are you going to do with a blob of plastic, melted plastic anyway? So you want to form it, and then machine it, or carve it, whatever you're going to do, and get some use out of it like you would a piece of plastic you buy from the store. You don't want to leave the melted plastic on anything like this. Some plastics will pop right off of metal when everything cools off. Plastic kind of shrinks and releases. Some plastics don't release. It's on there forever unless you melt it or scrape or grind it off. So hopefully this plastic will come off of this ceramic so I can use it again. This is extra ceramic from a remodel. So as it cools off, it gets thicker and harder to manipulate. Maybe get better gloves for this, like welding gloves or something. These are just hot oven mitts that you get hot pans out of the oven with. It's not made for extended use with heat. They just get hotter and hotter. So that's a pretty cool chunk of plastic there. Just from milk cartons. So once, when the plastic melts, it turns clear, like this. And then when it cools off again, it turns back into the milk jug type opaqueness, where you can't see through it. But this piece, you can see clearly through it. And if you made it flat enough, it'd probably be like a piece of glass. Okay, so that's that piece. And that was 8 halves of milk jug. Right there. So I could touch this with the glove. Manipulate it. It's not sticking to these gloves. I'm not saying it won't stick to your gloves, so be careful. Just touch it with a little piece and test it and see. So I can work it. I can work it into a ball. Maybe make a plastic ball that you can throw to your friends or family or even animals. I don't know if you want to be chewing on HDPE, but I'm sure there's worse stuff to chew on. So that's the ball. I don't know if you can see that. But you can see that it's clear. Pretty clear. See the light through it? Pretty neat. Okay, so we'll have a plastic ball. How do you get it round enough so it bounces right? I wonder if it will bounce. I know a milk jug will bounce a little bit before it explodes. And how do you let it cool off while it's still a ball? Otherwise, if you just set it here and let it cool, it's probably going to go flat on you. Yeah, it's already moving. And that's a hot ceramic plate there, so maybe if you set it in a round bowl, it's about the same shape. It will keep the form. That's it. Note the color. The outer edges are starting to turn white where it's cooling off. That's it. Okay, so this batch is done. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. Very hot. Zoom in a little. Okay, you can see this is really soft. That was about 6 or 8 minutes. And I'd pretty much put it on broil most of the time. I just put those 2 1-gallon jugs in there in the oven without cutting them up or anything, and they shrunk to these piles of goo. 2 really small piles of goo. Trying to get this off of here before it's stuck forever. Looks like it comes off pretty easily. First get it out of the oven anyway. Okay. It's like taffy or something. Never messed with taffy. But if I did, I bet this is what it would be like. Okay. And it's about 48 outside. I've got the doors open for ventilation. Don't want to breathe HDPE, I'm pretty sure. Any plastic for that matter. Okay. I've cleared, gotten the plastic off of the ceramic. Most of it, you can see. That's what I'm left with. There. It's like an opaque plastic ball. I'm going to form it into a ball. This one's about as small as an actual baseball, maybe a little smaller. This is 2 1-gallon jugs. Melt it down and rolled into a quasi ball. These balls all turn out about the same shape. It's a ball, okay. But the texture on the outside looks like a brain or something. See that? It's weird. Just keep forming it into a ball until it cools off enough to stay in its own shape. And there you go. So you can melt down some plastic jugs, make a ball out of it, let your kids play with it. If you trust them drinking out of a plastic jug, then you should trust them playing with the plastic made out of that jug, correct? Alright. And there you go.